Good afternoon ladies and gents, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me for today's video. I hope you're all well. So for today's video content, ladies and gents, we are going to focus on another piece of kit, but this is not your average piece of kit. This is coming from Winnerwell, and as we know, anything coming from Winnerwell is going to be exceptional in all realms of reviewery. But what makes this product even more exciting and special is that this is actually a pre-launch item. It's not available as yet, and there's only one in the country. And this is actually Winnerwell's first steps into a whole new realm of camping, for them anyway. So what better time of year to take a look at a 6-person Arctic polycotton teepee hot tent than on the doorstep of summer. Let's take a look. So here we have the tent in question, ladies and gents, and again this is a prototype version, but from my understanding there are going to be very few, if any, changes implemented into the final state of this tent, and from what I've seen this does look like a final finished product. Now, as you can see on the bag, there is no branding at the minute. I'm not sure whether that's going to change, but the bag is indicative of the colour of the tent inside. So you can see we've got a nice like off mustard sort of colour. We've got some nice nylon straps here, all very nicely stitched, very neat. 2 carry handles, and on the top of the bag here you'll find 2 cinch up snap buckle enclosures, which we can open there, and a nice robust zip, which we will do from the other side. These are YKK zippers, easily open there, and the tent body lies inside with all your poles and accessories. Now, just before we get into the gubbins of the tent, I'd just like to go over some dimensions of the tent actually stowed away in its carry pack first. This is a little bit confusing the way they've typed this here, but we have a length of 29.5 inch when stowed. We have a width of 11.4 inch and a height of 11.8 inch, so easily stowable. The weight of this teepee hot tent comes in at 15.8 kilo or 34.8 pounds. So the first thing that will greet you when you open your tent bag is your instructions, and I will say these are very well illustrated, easy to follow instructions there. I'm not sure whether this is going to be the final instruction booklet to this tent, because this is just A4 stapled. And I know they usually do glossy booklets for instructions, so maybe that will change. Next you will be greeted with your pole bag. In here you will also find your tent peg bag. Unfortunately that is missing from this kit. Again, this is a prototype and this has been shipped from different shops, so things may have been lost in the journeys, but here you get your tent pole, which is substantially large in width, and it is all bungeed together like so. Nice thick aluminium, so you know that is going to be strong and sturdy inside the tent. And this is 2.7 meters in length. Now, regarding the tent pegs or stakes you will receive with the tent when it finally goes on sale in July, you will receive 16 of these rather chunky and menacing looking branded Winnerwell titanium stakes there, and you will receive 4 of the smaller ones as standard in the kit. There you go. So ladies and gents, as you can see now, the tent is up. That was relatively easy to put up, might I add. Pretty simple, just configure it into a slack pentagon on the floor. Try not to take up too much in the corners and, you know, pull everything from the top, because you'll have trouble when you put the pole in to erect the teepee. Unfortunately I wasn't sent enough pegs to fully erect the skirt, to pull the skirt out, so I've used them where necessary so I can show you the tent's features, but just remember, prototype. So as you can see, tent's up, we've got the flashing kit in, and we've got the chimneys, part of the chimney there as well. So what I'll do now is I'll take you around the tent, point out some of its awesome features, and we'll go from there. So let's crack on. So first of all, let's have a look at the system the tent uses to tension up the skirt on the bottom of the teepee. So as you can see, we have some very nice ballistic nylon material just on the base of the skirt here. That should be nice and robust, hard wearing. We also have some very nice stitching along the webbing that connects the webbing straps to the teepee. So as you can see here, we have a spring-loaded clip, and to release the tension we just press that in simply like so, and to increase the tension we simply pull that and the spring clip engages the webbing. We also have a toggle on the bottom that slips into a circular steel ring, and this is on its own tension strap, as you can see. I hope the camera's picking that up. This is just a standard sort of pull strap system. So the toggle will sit inside the D-ring and that will again tension itself up like so. Very, very nicely stitched, very nice material. Situated around the tent we have 8 highly reflective guy lines, and again the webbing from these have been stitched into the seam of the tent, which should add some nice structural integrity. We have aluminium tensioners on the guy lines, allowing for easy tension. On the base of the TP in 3 locations we do have meshed air vents which can be opened using a guy rope system. On this side you'll find your pre-installed stove jack, and again that's some very nice heat resistant material there. We do have some nice steel grommet holes where you're going to fit your flashing kit. The flashing kit is sold separately, so what you see here you will have to purchase separately to the tent. And Winnerwell do recommend that you install this when the tent is flat on the floor. Although as you can see there, I did install this when the teepee was erect, so easily done. Just below the flashing kit and above the skirt we'll find the outlets for Winnerwell's proprietary external air stove. Now this is a patented technology from Winnerwell, and when you use one of Winnerwell's external air stoves you'll see it features a hose or an exhaust that comes off the back of the stove, exits the tent, and that allows the stove to take in a clean supply of air for the stove to burn, which leaves the air inside the tent safe for you to breathe, meaning you won't wake up dead in the morning. Now we do only have one entrance point into the teepee, but it is a nice wide door. It also has a mesh door behind that. So to gain entrance we have some chunky, very chunky YKK zippers just at the bottom of the door. As you can see there we now have the mesh door. On first inspection of this, the mesh on that is very, very open, and unfortunately the British midges will have no trouble getting through there. So if there is still room for improvement I will pass this on to Ashley over at Winnerwell, but yeah, that is not going to keep the smallest of insects out. That is quite an open weave. Now I am trying to show that best I can. It's probably not going to show up on camera, but the weave on this is very open. I'd say at least 1 millimetre. And again, the small biting midges of the UK will have no trouble getting through there. Let's take you inside. Ladies and gents, can I just say once again how excited I am to be stood in Winnerwell's first venture into TP hot tenting. This is a fantastic moment for me. Again, this is pre-launch prototype and it is exclusive on my channel. I cannot thank Winnerwell enough for this opportunity. Absolutely fantastic. Right, let's get back to the tent. So absolutely bagfuls of room in here. I am stood here, arms spread, and I'm not touching the sides of the tent here. We've got a height of 2.7 metres up, a width of 4.8 metres I believe, so very, very close to the 5 metre. But kneeling down, or even lying down, you'll see just how much room we have in this teepee. I am not touching a single wall. Probably look absolutely ridiculous right now, and unfortunately I don't have the lens on the camera to properly do this space justice. But yeah, it's absolutely gargantuan. Could even do some pole dancing in here, guys. Maybe not, we're on a public park. Now, ladies and gents, before we discover more of the teepee tent's features, I'd just like to remark on the colour of the tent. Now, as you can see there, we do have like an off sort of creamy yellow mustard colour. In my honest opinion, I do like it. I think it sits well, especially with the greyy green sort of ballistic material on the skirts. I think it does blend well. And we have the nice red logo of the Winnerwell there. With your traditional teepee tents, a lot of people go for the white, especially in snowy regions. Now, if you were very unlucky to get hit by a blizzard and you weren't with your teepee, this is going to remain a beacon, so you'll easily be able to identify that and make your way to it to safety. With your other colours like greens, whites and blacks, you could mistake that for other features on the land, but with this, you know, you can make no mistake, that's your teepee. So I do like the colour. And ladies and gents, it's time to show you this awesome TP's party piece. This is not something I've seen on any other TP, but please do correct me if I'm wrong, because again I could have been living under a rock. But here we go, check this out. You can actually unzip the flaps down for more ventilation, with obviously the TP being so huge, and then we can retract them back using the pulley system, and that's just awesome. I absolutely love that. Let's get them all down. This one's stuck. That is awesome. And then again, each one of these can be fastened to the side of the TP, creating that sort of vacuum airflow. And I have just got a rush of air past my face, so that definitely works. There you go. That is very, very clever. Very well thought out. Do like it. Now there will be times where you actually want to tuck the skirt under the TP, and another nice feature is when you've done that, you can secure that together using a toggle and loop system, and that will just tidy up all the skirt along the interior of the tent. Very nice. So as you can see, ladies and gents, I have now plumbed in one of Winnerwell's compatible stoves for this TP. This is one of Winnerwell's external air range stoves, and in fact this is the largest one they do. This is the triple view external air. It's constructed fully from stainless steel, and it is a beautiful thing to behold, and costs a bloody pretty penny as well. Now when you do buy the stove, in the kit you'll receive a hose, and on the back of the stove you may notice a big protruding lump here. Also in the kit, when you buy the stove, you do get a plate. Now if you're using this with a non-compliant sort of tent, a canvas tent, you can make your own hole in that tent and use this gasket, and this will still allow you to use the external air hose. But on this one, this is purposely built for the stove, so we already have the outlet installed. Let's crack on. So if I bring it a little bit closer, you'll see one end is meshed, the other end is open. The open end goes onto the stove. We have a butterfly wing nut there. We can open that up and that will just sit snugly on there. We can tighten that up. And then the hose can be taken and placed into the sling, which you'll find just at the top of this guy rope here. Like so. Looks like an elephant is trying to escape the TP. Now from a visual perspective that might look a little odd, might raise a few eyebrows, but from a safety perspective that is an absolutely fantastic innovation and could potentially save lives. So now you can see, ladies and gents, just how the system works. It comes from the back of the stove, exits the tent, and that will bring in a clean air supply for the stove to burn, leaving the remaining air inside the tent safe to breathe. Now this does look quite obstructive, as you can see there, but you can manoeuvre this stove to obviously minimise the impact that hose will have in the tent. But if you look around, you've still got absolutely masses of room to use. But again, this stove can be moved possibly over there somewhere, or turned around on its axis to shorten that pipe. Apologies for the lighting quality there, ladies and gents. I'm in the middle of a field and the sun is popping in and out of the clouds. So let's go over some assembled dimensions now. And I was correct before when I said we have a diameter of 4.5 metres and a height of 2.7 metres, or 14.8 feet wide and 8.9 feet high. Now looking through the booklet, nowhere will you find it mentioned that the 310 GSM polycotton has been fireproof from factory. That has also been treated for rain, so obviously still undergo your usual weathering procedures when using this tent. But yeah, that has already been treated fire and rain from factory. As mentioned previously, ladies and gents, this is a pre-launch article and it is not ready for purchase just yet. Although you can place pre-orders, and I will leave all links down in the description where you can do so. But when this tent goes on sale at the end of July, it will command a price of £995 or $1,330. Now I have put a couple of questions and ideas across to Winnerwell prior to getting this out for review today. The first one being the possibility of a dedicated inner for inside the tent. So that could be a possibility going down the road. The second one being the centre pole. Now with this being a polycotton tent, it is lighter than traditional canvas, but when this wets out it is going to increase in weight, and although the diameter of that centre pole is quite thick, when this gets heavier that is going to drive the pole, especially into soft ground, deep into the ground. When that happens you lose all tension of the tent, and it is a pain in the backside. So one of my ideas was to leave one end open, maybe with a captive nut or something, and you could they could implement sort of an aluminium plate saucer size that you could screw onto the bottom of that, just to increase the circumference of the base of there, and that will help it not to sink into the ground. So fingers crossed something can be done about that as well. I will be putting across to them the problem with the mesh. Again, this is very, very open, and it is not great for the UK midges if this is used outside of winter, which it possibly could. Now guys, I have also voiced my concerns to Winnerwell regarding the tent pegs they have chosen to send with this tent. Now if we take a close look at this one, you'll see here we have a sharpened tip on the hook and one on the bottom. Same goes for the smaller ones. We have a sharpened hook here, one on the bottom. Now these have been designed to drive straight into the ground, including the tip. Something I've never done myself before. I've always left a couple of inches just for ease of pulling these out the ground. Now in the instructions it does say to use one to pull the other one out the ground. The problem with that is if you are using this in a family setting, and these aren't driven fully into the ground, and little Timmy wants to help daddy pull these out the ground, there could be an incident where one of these inadvertently gets anchored into a youngun's hand, which could have catastrophic results, and could be easily avoided by either just rounding this off and treating them as a traditional tent peg, or looking at something totally different, which is a shame because these are nice premium titanium stakes. But I think just grinding this tip off here may avert disaster. Right guys, I've had to come inside because that sun is unrelenting and I look like I've got a bit of jaundice in here. But for my final thoughts and initial impressions of the Winnerwell Hot Tent Teepee. So first impressions, I'm really impressed. I think Winnerwell have done well to create what they've given us here. They've used some really nice premium materials with a 310 GSM polycotton that will remain nice and breathable, but also strong as well in winds. I like the bottom valance, the skirts. I like how you can tuck that under because they can be a bit problematic sometimes when you're erecting these on uneven ground. So I'd probably opt for that option in future when using this tent anyway. And it does create that air gap underneath as well to stop air coming in. Nice chunky YKK zippers on the doors. They should prove reliable for future use. And the pre-installed stove jack as well. That has been very nicely implemented. Again, with them steel grommet rings, allow you to locate your flashing kit nice and easy. So that is one problem you don't have to deal with. On this particular tent teepee, again, this is adapted to use with the Winnerwell external air stove. So we've got that implemented as well. And that will ensure that just looks, can't even see that from there, I don't think, but that does look wrong. But again, as a safety feature, that is going to pay dividends. I really do like the vent system at the top, working off them pulleys. I think that's a really nice innovation. That. Around the top of the teepee we've got lots of D-rings sewn into the seam, so we've got plenty of options for hanging lights, gear and equipment, things like that. But yeah, I think Winnerwell have really done well to think about and research what the end user is going to possibly want from a tent like this, and they've really done well to implement them features in this tent on their first go as well, might I add. So very nice. So my final thoughts on the Winnerwell teepee, ladies and gents. So as it stands, and with a few caveats it's got at the minute, I think it's a very well thought out and designed tent. If we can get the mesh changed on the front, that'd be fantastic. Again, that will ensure you ain't getting the biting midges in during summer use. The pole can be rectified yourself if you wanted to, but if they could implement that, that'd be even better. But yeah, as it goes, for what they've given us, I think it's fantastic. Price, again ladies and gents, is subject to the end user. So if you can afford £1,000 or $1,300, I think your money would be well spent here. Again, there are far more expensive teepee tents out there. And the last one I've seen, if I remember the name, I'll put it on the screen. That was £3,000 in our money, coming from Canada. So add your import fees on there and all that. It's far more expensive than the £1,000 this one is asking here. And I dare say this is going to be built to the same sort of quality as that. I'm very impressed so far. So there we have it, ladies and gents, our first look at Winnerwell's first step into the hot tent teepee world. I will be sure to update you if there are any changes implemented into the final build before launch, but I hope you've enjoyed that. Let me know your thoughts down in the description box there. But initially I'm very, very impressed, and I think it looks the part as well. I hope you'll agree. If any of my viewers are making it to the Bushcraft show this year and you do want a closer look at the teepee tent, I will be taking this and Steve will be sleeping in it, so just have a look on the open field for this and you can come over and take a look. Thank you as always for joining me for this video. Until the next one, you stay safe, and as always, stay crafty. See you again, guys. Bye bye.